We have a major update revolving around from this Phoenix Suns team as Shams Charania just dropped a bombshell with everything just changing for the Phoenix Suns as Mike Budenholzer has been the first domino to fall for this Phoenix Suns disaster class as he was just relieved of his duties this afternoon. And what else could Matt Ishbia, the owner, be cooking up for this Phoenix Suns team as after a failure of a season, he clearly still wants to win. So what other moves could be in the future for this Suns team as well? We'll be getting into all of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I am Bruce Velez, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic, showing your love and support all throughout the season. But with the offseason now kicking off for the Phoenix Suns, we're going to have a bunch of content revolving around all the drama that went on this season and what's going to happen after the aftermath. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date on everything on this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as 64% of you guys who watch the channel are not subscribed. And if you want to make sure you stay up to date on everything around the Phoenix Suns, this is the place for you. But without further ado, we're going to dive in. We're going to get into all this news out here. So make sure to grab a snack and wait for the video. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, it has finally happened with the Phoenix Suns. I feel like fans have been wanting this, have been asking for this since the middle of the season, right? Once we saw some players get benched, once we saw Jusuf Nurkic and Mike Budenholzer not have the greatest relationship, this was something that fans were asking for from all different angles, and it finally was presented to us. Maybe a little bit too late, but at the right time for all of us. As we saw from Shams Charania, that the Phoenix Suns have fired their head coach in Mike Budenholzer after he finished 11th place with a 36-46 record in his first season of being a head coach for this Phoenix Suns team. And we've seen this with the Suns before in the past. We obviously know his coaching carousel has continued to go on, and it will continue to go on past this year. And we saw from John Gamadaro a little bit of an inside information saying the Phoenix Suns fired Mike Budenholzer for several reasons. One of the reasons being the team did not compete. There was no energy. The second being the team didn't like each other. And third, his relationship with players was not good. They were awful defensively, and just overall performance, it overall was considered a bad fit for this Phoenix Suns team. And you could argue that with looking at the stats from last year's teams with Frank Vogel, you can see that this team got drastically worse defensively, dropping from like 13th defensively last year to around the bottom 10 this year, finishing around, the 27th, 22nd area on defense overall for the season this year. But not only just that, offensively, even with adding Mike Budenholzer, a great offensive head coach, this team still took some steps back, even with their revamped lineups, all due to the fact of these several reasons. The team did not compete. They felt with Mike Budenholzer that they could not do that. There was no energy. They were not giving him any energy on this bench or on this team because he wasn't playing the right guys like Ryan Dunn, Bull. Clearly, at the end of the season this year, Bull had a very frustrating process with Mike Budenholzer where he was brought into the game, then was sent back down to the bench. His claim was that they were down, they were losing the lead when it was an 18-point lead, and he wanted to go with a veteran, and Royce O'Neal was playing a minus 20. Doesn't make any sense. Give the fan favorite some fun. Let Bull get out there. It's absolutely ridiculous. So reasons like that clearly sparked a little bit of disinterest with the players and coach Mike Budenholzer. But not only just that, the team didn't like each other. His relationship with the players was not good, and we saw that through the season with him having conversations with Kevin Durant in the middle of the game where they looked like they were yelling at each other. We saw Jusuf Nurkic obviously had his big outing with Mike Budenholzer, which resulted in him getting benched and DMP'd and ultimately traded. But that article released by Dwayne Rankin kind of let us know the inside on what was going on between Nurkic and Mike Budenholzer. And then you also look at a player in Devin Booker, who had to say that Mike Budenholzer told him to tone it down vocally. As your leader, as your franchise point scorer, that's something that you do not want to hear. And specifically with Devin Booker, after all he's given to this Phoenix Suns team over the years, something that he definitely does not want to hear. So with all those things kind of included in packed together, clearly this was a bad fit for the Phoenix Suns, and it was on display. We all thought it was a good fit. Personally, when Mike Budenholzer was hired, was not the biggest fan of the hiring, and if you want to date back and look at the videos from last year, you can, but towards we got closer to the season, I was a little bit more welcoming to it. I was not fully sold on the Mike Budenholzer hiring, but I was a little bit more tuned onto it. But this season, clearly it was an absolute disaster class put in front of us. If we want to keep diving in, like I said, finished 11th in the Western Conference at a 36-46 record, and now the Suns have fired three head coaches, like I mentioned, in the last 23 months. Monty Williams was fired, Frank Vogel was fired after one season, and now Mike Budenholzer has been fired after one season, and he is done. And this is courtesy of Field Yates, ESPN football guy, but clearly knowing obviously the troubles that the Suns have been going through, and obviously knows that the coaching carousel will continue in Phoenix. As we all know, this team is also going to see more changes, not just to the coaching staff, as this has been the first domino to fall. We know the coaching has been the scapegoat the last couple seasons, as we've seen with Monty, Frank, and Budenholzer being fired. But clearly, Matt Ishbia doesn't care if the coaches are, getting paid at sitting at home or getting paid for on other teams while still paying them on their son's contract, because Vogel was hired for 4 seasons, Budenholzer was hired for 4 seasons. Both coaches will not see all 4 of those seasons clearly, as they're both fired after one, and both will be still receiving money for those 3 seasons. So that goes to show you once again with this roster that Matt Ishbia does not care about the money. He's willing to do whatever it is to win, and that could clearly shake how this team is going to build, or how they're going to get into this rebuild, retool type of thing around Devin Booker, potentially around Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, or potentially with no one here in Phoenix. But like I mentioned, the Suns' next head coach will be Devin Booker's 8th head coach in 11 seasons, which is not great for the Phoenix Suns, as that's a little bit scary. But when we look at the potential people that we could have as head coaches, that is something going to be for a future video. Obviously, there are some names that I could potentially think of, one being Sam Cassell from the Boston Celtics, assistant head coach. I think he'd be a great defensive mind, is a little bit of a player coach as well, can gel with the players, is a former player, but not only has experience in the NBA, and can instill a little bit of a culture-setting mind into the Phoenix Suns. That's what I necessarily think they need. Maybe not a rebuild coach or a completely young coach, but someone that's going to set a new identity. The Phoenix Suns have been going for talent. Championship head coach, player that can win a championship, player that makes a lot of money. That's not what's going to win us anything. We need to find for fit. We need to find for scheme. We need to find players that are going to work well with each other, and find a coach that's going to work well with Devin Booker and the direction of this franchise. And ultimately, I don't care if it's a flashy name. I want someone that is going to do the job and do the job right. And I think that's what every Phoenix Suns fan can speak from existence. But obviously, with Mike Budenholzer getting fired, it is not really crazy or shocking, as we all really picture this really happening, but clearly things are going to be changing. And Matt Ishbia said that, obviously, with the disappointing season where 26 other teams would like to be him. That's clearly not the situation the Phoenix Suns are in and won't be in after this offseason. So clearly there's some digging to get out of this grave that they have put themselves in, and Mike Budenholzer has been the first victim falling to that. We'll have to keep an eye out to see if other people are also cut from this front office, from this coaching staff, to see what that really implies with the direction of this Phoenix Suns team. And then we'll also have to wait and see with the players as well, as we get closer and closer to the end of the season, or when the season ends. That's when the players will be able to be moved, and that's when we have the discussions on that as well. Before we sign off, I would like to show what the Phoenix Suns did post themselves relating to this. I did not be able to grab it in a screenshot, but I did grab it before we did go live. The Phoenix Suns official saying that they announced today that the organization has relieved head coach Mike Budenholzer of his duties, with the Suns releasing the following statement, saying competing at the highest level remains our goal, and we failed to meet expectations this season. Our fans deserve better. Change is needed. And that just clearly summarizes how this Phoenix Suns team feels this season, right? They had these high expectations. We're expecting to be maybe not in the top 2, top 3 conversations in the West, but playoff conversations in the West, definitely better than last season, and hoping for a second round playoff spot. Now the Suns have no playoffs to hope for, no play-in to hope for, and are now just sitting on their couch just watching everything. And clearly, competing at the highest level still remains their goal, and I do believe that will remain after this season. So that's why they're going to try to keep Devin Booker, potentially try to keep Kevin Durant, try to work this thing into a contender, if not flipping those players to get another star to work alongside Devin Booker. But obviously, changes is needed, and change will be coming. So we'll be keeping you updated on everything else regarding around this. Like I said, I'm happy Mike Budenholzer is gone. He benched the rookies, Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro. He had multiple times where he didn't play ball, had some weird relationships with Mason Plumlee, which even started in the final game over Oso Ighodaro, which makes no sense. There were a lot of questionable decision makings made by Coach Budenholzer within these rotations, and even in those post-game press conferences, having those following up responses was very, very questioning as well. So I'm sad and unfortunate for Mike Budenholzer that his dream job of coaching his hometown team did not go well, but ultimately the results kind of showcase that it was not going to work, and Phoenix needs something different. Clearly, that is the case, and change is going to be coming. Change is needed, and we're going to be seeing that all throughout the offseason. So let us know your thoughts down below in the comment section, how you guys feel about the Mike Budenholzer firing. I'm obviously ecstatic about it. I think this was really telling. We needed this to happen, and I'm shocked it didn't happen sooner. As we had seen, Taylor Jenkins and Michael Malone get fired, but maybe the Suns knew they weren't going to make the playoffs. Maybe they just thought, hey, we'll wait it to the end of the season. We don't want to cause even more confusion and more disruption with our roster right now, and let's just handle it the professional way. And that's how the Phoenix Suns want to do it. That is A-okay. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Like I said, we'll have plenty of videos coming out about more stuff revolving around this Phoenix Suns team when stuff does drop on news regarding the squad. So if you want to make sure you're up to date on everything, hit the subscribe button. We're live every Thursday as well at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific to discuss everything Phoenix Suns. So I'll definitely catch you guys then if you enjoy. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day and go Phoenix Suns. Peace out, everyone.